Hi everyone, it's such an honor to be here with you today. As someone who started off in a small town in India, I never imagined I'd one day be speaking on global stages, working across continents, or using my voice to make an impact that reaches beyond borders. But let me tell you something, my journey is not just mine. It belongs to every young dreamer who has ever been told they're not enough, every person who's been boxed in by stereotypes, every voice that's been overlooked just because of where it came from. Today, I want to talk to you about breaking barriers, not just physical ones, but the invisible walls built by fear, doubt, and society's expectations. I want to share what it means to dream beyond what's handed to you, to say yes to yourself, and to turn your local confidence into global influence. Because no matter where you come from, no matter how small your beginning may seem, you have the power to create something extraordinary. You know, people love to tell you who you are based on where you come from. They'll look at your background, your hometown, your circumstances, and try to write your story before you even pick up the pen. But let me tell you something I've learned firsthand. Your origin doesn't define your destiny. I was born in Jamshedpur and raised in Bareilly, a small town in India, and growing up, I never saw billboards with faces like mine dreaming beyond borders. The world I lived in felt like it had boundaries, but deep inside me there was a spark, something that whispered, "There's more for you, don't settle." That whisper became a roar, and I followed it, no matter how far or scary the road ahead seemed. See, the place you start from is not a prison. It's a launch pad. It teaches you grit. It teaches you values, but it doesn't get to decide how high you'll fly. That's on you. That's your job. We live in a world that's quick to label. She's just a small town girl, or he won't make it beyond this. But guess what? The moment you start believing that where you come from limits where you can go, you hand over your power, and that power, that belongs to you. What defines your destiny is not geography. It's vision, it's courage, it's consistency. You can be from anywhere and still go everywhere. So own your story, even the parts that feel too humble, too quiet, too simple, because those chapters make your journey powerful. Your origin is your starting line, but where you finish, that's entirely up to you. Dreams don't recognize borders. They are born in quiet bedrooms, noisy classrooms, tiny villages, and big cities alike. Whether you're a kid in India, a teenager in Nigeria, or a student in Brazil, your dreams matter. They're valid. They're powerful. That's the beauty of dreaming. It's universal. But here's the truth no one tells you early enough. Opportunities are not. I realized this early in my journey. I had the dream to perform, to travel, to create, but I didn't have the industry connections. I didn't have access. I didn't come from a film family. What I had was passion and a relentless desire to turn that dream into something tangible. And when doors didn't open for me, I stopped waiting at them. I carved out windows, broke through walls, and sometimes built entire new doors. We don't all start on the same playing field, and that's reality. But that doesn't mean you sit still. You move, you learn, you create your own opportunities. You send the email, you audition even when you're scared. You show up even when no one's watching. People might not hand you the spotlight, but you can light your own fire. And once you do, trust me, the world notices, because talent is everywhere, but the courage to act on it, that's what separates the dreamers from the doers. So don't wait for permission. Don't wait for someone to give you a chance. Be bold enough to make your own. Be resourceful. Be hungry. Be fearless. Create your stage, even if it's just a corner of your room. Your dream is yours. But the opportunity, that's something you have the power to build. If there's one thing I've learned in this unpredictable journey called life, it's this: resilience is everything. It's your secret superpower. The world might see your talent, your beauty, your success. But what they often don't see is what it took to keep going when things fell apart. I've heard no more times than I can count. I've faced rejections that made me question if I belonged. I've dealt with criticism, failures, loneliness, and that voice inside your head that whispers, maybe you're not enough. But guess what? I showed up anyway, and that's what resilience looks like. It's not about being unbreakable. It's about choosing to rebuild yourself every single time you crack. Resilience isn't loud. It's not glamorous. Sometimes it's just getting out of bed when all you want to do is give up. Sometimes it's trying again after the world has told you to stop. And other times it's walking into a room knowing people have already underestimated you, and proving them wrong quietly and powerfully. What people forget is that success doesn't come from never falling. It comes from falling 1,000 times and getting up 1,001. You grow through what you go through, so wear your scars proudly. They're proof that you survived. Let your setbacks fuel your comeback, because every time you rise, you're rewriting the narrative. You're saying, I am more than what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. Let resilience be your armor, not to hide behind, but to walk forward with, because no matter where you're from or what you've faced, when you refuse to stay down, you become unstoppable. For a long time, I waited for permission to dream big, permission to take up space, permission to believe that I could do something extraordinary. And then one day I realized, I don't need anyone's permission but my own. The moment I said yes to myself, everything changed. Saying yes to yourself means choosing to believe in your potential before anyone else does. It means backing yourself when nobody is clapping. It means trusting your voice even when it trembles, and let me tell you, that kind of power. It's fierce, it's liberating. There will always be people who doubt you, who box you into their limited expectations, and there will be moments when you doubt yourself too, because self-belief isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet whisper saying, try one more time. Listen to that voice, that's your strength speaking. When I said yes to myself, I stopped shrinking to fit in. I stopped apologizing for being ambitious, opinionated, or bold. I started saying yes to taking risks, yes to learning, yes to failing and still standing tall, and with every yes I grew, not just in my career, but in who I was becoming. You see, the world reflects back what you radiate. If you show up with confidence, with belief, the universe responds, but it starts with you. Say yes to the version of you that's waiting to be unleashed. Say yes to the dreams that scare you a little. Say yes to your worth, your magic, your voice, because once you say yes to yourself truly, unapologetically, there's no force that can dim your light. You don't wake up one day and find yourself on a global stage. You build that moment, brick by brick, belief by belief, starting exactly where you are. People often ask me, how did you go from Bareilly to the world? And the answer is simple, but not easy. I believed in myself before the world did. Global impact doesn't begin with fame. It doesn't start with awards or headlines. It begins the first time you raise your hand in a classroom. It begins when you dare to express your opinion at the dinner table. It begins when you look in the mirror and decide, I matter, my voice matters. I learned to be confident at home, in my town, in my skin, that local confidence, rooted in my identity, my culture, my values, became my foundation. It made me grounded enough to handle rejection and strong enough to keep dreaming when doors slammed shut. Because if you don't own your story at home, the world won't either. You can't expect global recognition if you're still hiding your true self in local spaces. Confidence is contagious. When you show up for yourself in small rooms, you start attracting bigger ones. Every global change maker you admire, they started by believing that what they had to say, right where they were, was important. So whether you're standing in a village square, a college auditorium, or your bedroom with a notebook in hand, show up fully. That is where your impact begins. The world doesn't need perfection. It needs authenticity. And that begins with you owning your space, your local space, with pride, because when you do, the world pays attention, and that's when global impact becomes not just a dream, but a reality. If I had listened to every label the world tried to stick on me, I wouldn't be standing where I am today. Actress, beauty queen, Bollywood girl, too Indian, not Indian enough, too ambitious, too outspoken. The world will always try to put you in a box. It makes people more comfortable when they think they've figured you out. But let me say this loud and clear. You are not a label. You are a force. Stereotypes are lazy definitions. They reduce the complexity of who you are into something simple, manageable. But you weren't made to be manageable. You were made to be magnificent, to be unpredictable, to be multi-dimensional. Don't shrink to fit someone else's narrative. There were times when I walked into rooms and felt the weight of expectation. That I was only there to look a certain way, speak a certain way, act a certain way. But I realized quickly, if I keep performing for their comfort, I'll never live in my truth. So I stopped. I stopped seeking approval from people who couldn't see the fullness of my potential. And I started showing up as me, loud, proud, Indian, global, imperfect, and powerful. Pushing past stereotypes means rewriting the script. It means proving, through action, not argument, that you are more than one thing. You can be glamorous and gritty, soft and strong, a dreamer and a doer. You get to define you. So the next time someone tries to box you in, smile and break the box, then use the pieces to build your own stage. Because the world doesn't need more people playing roles. It needs more people showing up as their whole, authentic, limitless selves. There's no secret recipe, no magical shortcut, no overnight success story. There's just the grind. The sweat, the relentless, unglamorous hustle that happens behind the scenes when no one is watching. People often see the red carpets, the accolades, the global campaigns, but they don't see the years of back shoots, the missed birthdays, the constant travel, the early call times and late night rehearsals. Let me tell you, hard work has no substitute, and hustle, it doesn't take holidays. I've built my career by showing up, day after day, job after job, sometimes even city after city in a single week. There were no guarantees. No comfort zones, just a deep hunger to grow, to evolve, to prove, to myself, more than anyone, that I could rise to any challenge. Hard work is what turns raw talent into mastery. Hustle is what keeps you moving when motivation runs dry. And discipline, that's the bridge between where you are and where you want to go. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you're not willing to outwork everyone in the room, someone else will. Someone who's just as hungry, just as driven, but more consistent. Hustle isn't a moment, it's a mindset. It's waking up every day and choosing excellence, even when you're tired, even when you're doubting yourself. So don't wait for opportunities, don't wait for applause. Put your head down and do the work. Build when it's quiet, grow when it's hard, and when success comes knocking, let it find you knee deep in the hustle, not waiting at the door. Because the truth is, if you want to live a life that others dream of, you have to be willing to work in a way most people won't. Success isn't just about what you achieve, it's about what you do with that success. It's about how many people you lift as you rise, because no matter how big the spotlight gets, it means so much more when it's shared. I've always believed that if you're privileged enough to have a platform, whether it's a global audience or just a group that looks up to you, you have a responsibility, not just to speak, but to amplify, to make space for voices that are often unheard, to open doors for people who have talent, drive, and dreams, but not always the access. When I was starting out, there weren't many people who looked like me on the global stage. There weren't many people saying, "Come sit at the table," so I had to build my own. But now that I have one, I'm pulling up more chairs, because what's the point of reaching the top if you're standing there alone? Lifting others isn't charity, it's leadership, it's legacy. Whether it's mentoring young women, creating opportunities behind the camera for diverse voices, or using my voice for causes I believe in through UNICEF, it all comes back to this. The power of one becomes unstoppable when it multiplies. You don't need millions of followers to make a difference. Your platform is wherever you are. Your classroom, your community, your workplace. Shine your light so others feel safe to shine theirs too. Because real impact isn't measured by how high you climb, it's measured by how many people you bring with you. So rise, and when you do, reach back, because when we rise together, that's when change truly happens.